Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael, or the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation called To Deliberate Sabbath Breakers, brothers and sisters, is brought to you by Danite Publications on the platform Mora Yeshaya Old Testament, Mora Yeshaya History Lessons, and Mora Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. This is a part 1A, if you want to say, because it's also on the other platforms. Previous, that was done, say, an hour or so ago, Yeshaya Author Danite, which is a Facebook page, as well as Mora Yeshaya History Lessons 2, as well as Mora Yeshaya Torah Lessons. I wanted to present this on different platforms, brothers and sisters, to get this message out. I do not, brothers and sisters, to make a disclaimer. I do not profess to have been in my life the best Sabbath keeper. Nonetheless, brothers and sisters, it is wicked. It is actually wrong. It's actually of a hard matter to sit there and teach the children of Israel to break the Sabbath. It is a sign between Israel and the Most High. I know this may be an unusual time to go live, but nonetheless, brothers and sisters, we do care to bring this out to the people. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. We are reading, brothers and sisters, and we're going to start in Exodus chapter 31, brothers and sisters, in this particular case. And it says this: And Yah spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yah that does sanctify you. You shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the 7th is a Sabbath of rest, holy to Yah. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat, to observe the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yah made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moshe with Moses, when he had made an end of communion with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of the testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of Elohim. So, brothers and sisters, what we care to bring this out to the people, if we will, brothers and sisters, is that the Shabbat, we definitely want to state, is not a joke inside of the Israelite culture. And since it is not a joke, brothers and sisters, we know its significance. We read where it says that it is a sign between the Most High and the children of Israel. Why do we want to emphasize on that? Who wants, brothers and sisters, to make a sign and have the sign to be ignored? Please let that be noted. Who wants to make a sign and have the sign to be ignored? That, brothers and sisters, just goes to show us that that timing is significant, important, not to sit there and be treated as if it doesn't mean anything, or so forth and so on. So, in light of all of that, brothers and sisters, let us get into this matter. There are some who, online or offline, teach that we cannot and should not keep the Sabbath. Now, we're going to, in this, discuss some of their reasonings for such, which actually doesn't hold much weight once it comes down to scriptural matters. And what do we mean by that, brothers and sisters? Because when you deal with the Torah, which is law, teaching, if you will, it is free of emotion. So what do I mean when I say that it is free of emotion, in that one's own opinion doesn't hold weight on the say matter of the Lord itself? So How then do we teach, knowing its significance, that it holds no weight whatsoever, that it is something to not be taken seriously whatsoever? That, brothers and sisters, it means nothing whatsoever. We cannot, brothers and sisters, have that kind of mindset. So what do we care to point out and show for reference purposes? In many cases, males who teach to not keep the Sabbath generally is under certain cases. And that is, you want the overtime at the job, or you want to take out the lady, and therefore you okay with doing such in that particular case. That is the primary reason why many teach that in that case that are males. Now, this is not to play judge or anything of that sort. But brothers and sisters, can we not think that it is kind of crazy, if you will, to have that kind of thought out there to the people? When do you have that separated time and say that time of rest, brothers and sisters? That is important. We're going to go over scriptural matters, if we will. And again, I do not profess to be, in my life, to have been the best Sabbath keeper. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 20, if we will, verse 8. And let's see, brothers and sisters, what it says in this particular case. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 says this: remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days that shall labor and do all your work. So what do we see right there? That we are told in the rules of the Sabbath that we are to do work. That means that it is inclusive of it, brothers and sisters. The fact the Israelite culture has a set day of rest shows us that the Israelite culture is not based upon laziness. There are 52 Sabbaths weekly in the year. Now, in this, as in the other presentations that were done, say, an hour or so ago on the other platforms, we're not going to delve into so much of when the Sabbath is or when it is not, because we have to first, for the lack of a better term, tackle the matter of people saying that we can and should not keep it. If you're saying that, then you're also by default, according to the law, saying that we cannot work, because it says you shall work 6 days. So if we can't keep the day of rest, according to the standard of the law, can we also say we cannot work? That is showing the distinction in deeds, not so much your head wraps, not so much your ornaments, not so much how much Hebrew one deals with, but more so how does one sit there and deal with not doing things when the time does not allow so in that particular case. Brothers and sisters, let us read this again. Remember the Sabbath day, Zakor, from the word Zakar, which means to remember. That may be stated there because if you're working and putting your grind on during the other days of the week, you might just forget the Sabbath, just be in a work mode. So now you might see why the Torah will tell you to write it on your doorpost, to have it upon you as a sign upon thy hand and fullness between thine eyes, because it's there as a reminder. Now, what do we do, brothers and sisters, when brothers and sisters online say, well, it says those who break the Sabbath are to be put to death, and so if you don't put them to death, then therefore there's no point in saying keeping the Sabbath? We know good and well that the Most High, through the prophet Ezekiel, stated that he'd rather the people repent from their evil and return to do that which is lawful and right. So we are not by Torah, and certainly in the Tanakh, commanded to look to put people to death. That's not our mission, brothers and sisters. Our mission is to sit there and get the people to return back to the Most High as we do it ourselves. Not, well, if you can't kill somebody for committing adultery, then then you can't keep those laws. See, this is what happens when people don't want to do certain things, such as have a day of rest. Remember, the prophet Isaiah stated that there's no rest for the wicked. So they're always, when others are keeping Shabbat, having a time of cessation from work, or always say, well, are you doing this? Or hey, are you doing that? That is your spirit being troubled by somebody else wanting to have a rest. So that is something, brothers and sisters, we care to point out in that particular case. Let's go, if we will, to Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 19, brothers and sisters. And it reads as follows. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 19. And it reads as follows. Thank you for that. Thus saith Yah unto me, go and stand in the gate of the children of thy people, whereby the kings of Judah come in and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem, and say unto them, hear ye the word of Yah, ye kings of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, that enter in by these gates. Thus saith Yah, take heed unto yourselves, and bear no burden on the Shabbat day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem, neither carry forth a burden out of your houses on the Shabbat day, neither do ye any work, but hallow ye the Shabbat day as I commanded your fathers. Now, brothers and sisters, hallow the Shabbat as their fathers were commanded, as our fathers were commanded back, say, in the days when Exodus. And what does it say? 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. So now, if you are putting in your work during the 6 days, you wouldn't have to feel compelled to have to sit there and carry burdens on the Shabbat. You would have carried that burden out already. That would have already been accomplished. It teaches a matter of responsibility and accountability once it comes down to the keeping of the Shabbat as well. It teaches a matter of having to have a pre-thought. Let me prepare already in that particular case, which leads into good old word called responsibility. See, people who teach that we can not keep the Shabbat and should not keep the Shabbat are not teaching accountability and responsibility. They're not teaching make sure that your clothes is already prepared. They're not teaching make sure the food is already prepared. They're not teaching make sure your laundry is already prepared. They're not teaching make sure the children are already prepared, brothers and sisters. What it is a matter of we don't have to sit there and keep it because of this, that, and the third. Brothers and sisters, let's go over two scriptures that are used but misunderstood as to why people try to say that we cannot and should not keep the Sabbath. Let's go to Hosea chapter 2, brothers and sisters, if you will. Hosea chapter 2, verse 11. Now, we're going to have to get into a little bit of history because Hosea began to prophesy a little bit before the timing of Isaiah. And there are people who are saying that, well, the Most High spoke after the laws were given, and that's true. The Most High did speak after the laws was given, but the prophets ain't never tell you to break the laws of Yah. And part of the laws of Yah is to keep the Shabbat. So Hosea prophesied a little before and into the timing of Isaiah's prophesying timing. And they were both before 50 plus years before Jeremiah. That becomes important when people want to say that after the Torah was given, that the Most High still spoke. And let's see its significance in this. Hosea chapter 2, verse 11 says this, I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Sabbaths, and all her solemn feasts. And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, whereof she has said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me, and I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. Brothers and sisters, do you know who's being described in Hosea chapter 2? A woman who's been astray out of her relationship. That's your example of why you don't want to keep that. Because it really boils down to what you don't want to do when you get right down into it, brothers and sisters. To teach to not keep the Sabbath is no different than what the Greeks was trying to push in the timing that we get into Hanukkah or Hanukkah, when the Israelites were forbade by Antiochus Epiphanes to keep the Sabbath. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41, as we read also on some of these platforms. And it says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Now, strange laws, let's see some of them in verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days. Profaning of the Sabbath is a strange custom to the Israelite law. The Maccabees, as we already read in 1 Maccabees 3:21, where we went over the presentation regarding Hanukkah, it says we fight for our lives and for the laws, our laws, because what the Greeks was coming with is contrary in promoting Hellenism against the Hebrew, against the Israelite culture. So when you are teaching online or offline to not keep the Sabbath, what is the difference between you and Antiochus Epiphanes? What is the difference between you and Domitian saying we should not have to be Sabbath observers and those that are under the covenant of circumcision? What do you gain out of that? The mentality that brothers who teach that we cannot keep the Shabbat in, say, a foreign land, if you will, we want to point that out as well, are mental black men who are to be labeled as those who had slaves in America. There were some black males in slavery who had black servants in slavery. That is a fact. Very few, but that did exist. Brothers and sisters, and that's you. If you are teaching that we should not and cannot keep the Sabbath, we already told in the Torah that we are to work for 6 days and to do all our work, all our labor, and so forth. So if you're teaching that we cannot have a day of rest from working, then that means you want us to work all 7 days. That is no different than you being the black person that is telling others of your own people to just keep on working for, quote, someone else in most cases. When you're telling people that you cannot keep the Shabbat, you cannot keep the day of rest, and that you could and should go to work on the Sabbath, and if it's not your business, which most cases is no disrespect intended, it's not, you're telling your brother or sister to go and be enslaved by another person, because to work and to be enslaved is the same word in Hebrew, abad. So what are you telling your brothers and sisters, when you say go to work for, quote, the man on the Shabbat? What is the difference between that and, for the lack of a better term, no disrespect intended, the Sambo, the so-called Uncle Tom, which, you know, the history, Uncle Tom was truly a man named Josiah Henson, who was, I would say, the male version of Harriet Tubman, whereas Harriet Tubman was helping black people in slavery go from the South to the North on the East Coast. In the Midwest, he was doing that, going from the South Midwest over into places as far as Canada. That's the true history of, quote, Uncle Tom in that particular case. But brothers and sisters, there is no difference between the person following the edict of the Greeks saying, don't keep the Sabbath, and the person that's going online or offline and saying we can't keep the Sabbath. You're the worker for Antiochus Epiphanes in spirit. You're the person that's telling your brother, go to work for the man. Master say, we've got to go. He wrote a letter. That kind of spirit, brothers and sisters. So we do not want that to be promoted and taught and to have been brought forth. Do you understand? This is on the channel, Mora Yeshaya Old Testament, Mora Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons, and Mora Yeshaya History Lessons. This is also presented, say, an hour or so ago on the platform, Mora Yeshaya History Lessons 2, Mora Yeshaya Torah Lessons, and the Facebook page, that's to say Yeshaya Author Danak. Just want to bring this out on all the platforms a brother have for this kind of pertinent message. So we know that Hosea chapter 2, verse 11 is not telling us that we are not to keep the Sabbath. Remember, he was correlated in the time frame of Isaiah the prophet. So let's go and see what the contemporary prophet Isaiah says in this particular case. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 1, verse 10. And it says the following, right? Line upon line and precept upon precept, if you will, the statement that we state as Israel. 1 verse 10 says, hear ye the word of Yah, you rulers of Sodom, and give ear to the law of our God, you people of Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, people who went astray. The woman that's being described in Hosea chapter 2, a harlot, is a Zana in Hebrew. Zona is harlot. Zana means to go astray. So like the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, those who went astray into their own ways, this is what it says. To what purpose is a multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith Yah? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and of the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks or of lambs or of he-goats. When you come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand to tread my courts? Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and the Sabbaths, the calling assemblies, I can not away with. It is iniquity, even the solemn assembly. Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hates. They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Be teachable. For it to say, learn to do well. Brothers and sisters, how are we teaching our children that we don't have our sacred times? I work in New York. These nations, they go in, they go hard concerning that time, and they're talking about tomorrow, December 25th. That's one of their biggest days. They put the decorations all over the streetlights. They put the trees all over the places where they can sit there and put them at. And what do we do sometimes as Israel? Sit there and say that we're wrong for keeping what is part of our culture. While some of us work on the holidays of the nations to get time and a half or double pay, or those who get paid for through union or otherwise required quote unquote holiday pay and getting that time off. Why is it that when we have our time, such as the Shabbat, which is a weekly event, which is something that most of us do keep, if you got to go to the magnitude of getting a letter from a congregation in good standing about such a matter and so forth and so on. Why is it, brothers and sisters, that we got Israelites out there teaching that we can and should not do it? You're wicked, brothers and sisters. Again, you're a worker for Antiochus Epiphanes. You understand? So this is not, brothers and sisters, to be disrespectful to anyone, but we want to point this out for reference purposes. It tells you in Isaiah 1 verse 16 the solution, where it says, wash you, make you clean, put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes, cease to do evil. See, they who misquote Hosea 2 verse 11 are not reading the contemporary prophet Isaiah 1 that distinctly says, cease to do evil and learn to do well. They are taking the person who went astray in Hosea chapter 2 and what the Most High will bring upon as judgment and saying, I will cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Sabbaths. Her Sabbaths, not the laws of Yah, is going to be caused to be ceased. No. Because part of the law, it tells you, Hishamir Laka, which means take heed to yourself. So if you're taking heed to yourself, that means you're going to want to learn to do well. You're going to seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. Brothers and sisters, to the Israelites on the internet that teach, or offline, that teach that we cannot keep the Sabbath and we should use these times or any time because they don't want to say they have to keep the Shabbat. They are those online, no blowing no names up necessary. What are you calling out to the Most High about? If you are not compelled on Shabbat to have to quote work, why are you teaching that Israelites are okay to do so? And then turn around and say, well, you know what? We can sit there and just call out any given time. Why not do it specifically to TOO also on the time that the Most High has set aside. I'm not saying don't do it on so-called Sunday. I'm not saying don't call out to the Most High so-called Wednesday. What I am conveying, what I am trying to present, not speaking my own words, thoughts, or opinions, at the same token, is that there is no way, brothers and sisters, that we are going to sit there and teach that we're the children of Israel and that the Shabbat is a sign, as we read earlier in Exodus chapter 31, and also in your own time, you can read it in Ezekiel chapter 20. The Shabbat is a sign. Who is the Most High to us? Our Ish, our husband, our chief, our Rosh, our head, our leader. Now, if Israel in Isaiah chapter 54 is deemed the wife of the Most High, and there are times that even in a relationship, there are certain dates that are significant and important. Why would we feel that we should or could not keep certain times holy to Yah as appointed, but then on a human level, we as men want our wives, our ladies, our significant other, our boo, for the lack of a better word, to remember our anniversaries, to remember the things that we've done. Let's hold that in thought there, if we will. And let's go, if we will, brothers and sisters, to back to Exodus chapter 20. Let's start in verse 10, brothers and sisters, in this particular case. All right? Exodus chapter 20, we're going to be reading in verse 10, and it reads on this wise. But the seventh day is the Shabbat to the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor the stranger that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yah made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yah blessed the Shabbat day and hallowed it. Now, verse 11, it says what? For in 6 days Yah made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is. So can we understand that the observance of the Shabbat is connected to the creation? The Most High created the world and everything in it in 6 days and ceased, not rest as if one was tired, but Shabbat meaning to cease or desist or to discontinue. In that particular case, we being as Israel in Isaiah 54, the wife of the Most High, do we not follow the Ish example? Do we not follow the husband's example in that particular case? See, it's breaking off a relationship barrier. It's breaking off a relationship unity, I must say, when we as Israelites teach we cannot keep the Sabbath. Because we are to keep it, it is a sign, one, and it's also, as pointed out, the remembrance of creation. For in 6 days Yah made the heavens and the earth. So we can see how we, being the wife of Yah, is included in his creation on a human level, and the Most High is not a human. On a human level, and we humans are not the Most High. Can we believe, think, say, feel, and know and understand that when you have a set time with your wife, with your lady, and everything else becomes more important at that same particular time that you have as an anniversary or a memorial or something, what would you think as a man? Sometimes when a woman feels a certain way, it's like, well, who else do you have in your mind that you don't pay me any attention? You understand? So we as men, we may sit there and feel the same way. Why is it that these days, be it anniversary or so forth or so on, seems to mean nothing to certain individuals, for the lack of a better term? These are things we care to bring out for reference purposes. Let's go, brothers and sisters, to Jeremiah chapter 19, if we will. Again, this is a part 1A. This presentation was also done on another platform, but want to cover this kind of serious matter on all the platforms that a brother operates. All right, we are currently on Mora Yeshaya Old Testament, Mora Yeshaya Hebrew lessons, Mora Yeshaya history lessons. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 19 verse 1. Thus says Yah, go and get a potter's earthen bottle and take of the ancients of the people and of the ancients of the priests, and go forth into the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is by the entry of the east gate, and proclaim there the words that I shall tell thee. And say, hear ye the word of Yah, ye kings of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus saith Yah of hosts, the God of Yisrael, behold, I will bring evil upon this place, the which whatsoever heareth his ears shall tingle, because they have forsaken me and have estranged this place, and have burnt incense in it unto other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, nor the kings of Judah, and have filled this place with the blood of innocents. And have built also we are in Jeremiah 19 verse 5, and have built also the high places of Baal to burn their sons with the fire for burnt offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor spoke it, neither came it in my mind. So brothers and sisters, if your energy is not being given to the Most High, what El or what God or what thing, Elil, in this case idol, do you sitting up there and giving it to? Because if we are by covenant, brothers and sisters, in a particular union with the Most High, and we are not meeting up to our standard, and the Most High doesn't give you anything that you cannot handle, then what are we doing? There's a couple of things. Brothers who teach that are workers in spirit for Antiochus Epiphanes. You are friends with the enemy to sit there and teach your people to go to work for another man on the Shabbat. We already know that many people want to work from home. A lot of homeschooling has now been started. You understand? People want more independence and control over the situations with his or her own family. You understand? So in light of that kind of matter, why do we think that it is okay to teach to not keep the Shabbat? If you are in the laws of Yah, and I'm saying this, not saying that I have been myself been the best Sabbath keeper, I have not. Exodus chapter 20 verse 9 says, 6 days shall you labor and do all your work. If you are doing your work in that particular time and you on your grind and you put in your 110% effort, be it your own personal business or even going to a job where you clock and punch in and all of that kind of matter, if you're giving your utmost performance and it's recognized, then you're going to be looking for a Shabbat. You're going to be looking for that time of rest. You understand? The earth, the land, is supposed to have a rest when you read Leviticus 25. Did you know that? So in light of that, brothers and sisters, why again do we see that the land is supposed to have a rest? And we know, we quote the salt of the earth. We come from the earth. We were made by the Most High. He using the elements in the earth to make us as people and set Israel above the nations. One of the key signs of Israel's culture is the Shabbat. So why will we want to front and play ourselves to say that one day out of 7 we cannot give unto Yah? That is to say, brothers and sisters, 1/7 of the time is selected in your whole weekly schedule to the Most High. Let's go to Isaiah 58, brothers and sisters, and read this. And again, I don't come on here saying in my life, being in this real life since I was a baby, now 43 years old, that I've always been the best Sabbath keeper. No, brothers and sisters, I'm not saying that of myself. Nonetheless, we do not want the thought and teaching out there, brothers and sisters, that we are to break it, the observance of thereof, and everything is just supposed to be all right. No. Isaiah 58, verse 13. If you turn away thy foot from the Shabbat, from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Shabbat a delight. That means it's not, it's a Shabbat. Call the Shabbat a delight. Deuteronomy 28 speaks upon whether you serve the Most High with joyfulness and gladness of heart. So it's supposed to want to be a delight. In that particular case, like, yes, that kind of spirit. The holy of Yah, honorable, it shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Now, on a human level, when you as a man have a set time with your lady, like the Most High is our husband, and the Shabbat is a set time between us and our God. You don't want as a man to sit there and hear him and her and the stuff over there and the job and the what? Take the time for that. This is only for us. Are we on our vacation together? The Shabbat, we may say, is a vacation from the stuff that goes on during the week. And when you're on vacation, do you want to sit there and bring that job spirit with you? No. When you're on vacation, do you want to sit there and bring that mentality of the burden of X, Y, and Z? No. So brothers and sisters, in that particular case, why do we teach online or offline that we cannot keep the Shabbat? We read in the Apocrypha, brothers and sisters, from the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, right, that they were saying the strange laws of the land, which included the forsaking of the Shabbat. The Roman historian Tacitus, he stated that the Hebrew culture promotes laziness because they wanted to keep a Sabbath once a week. When you read the Roman historian Tacitus, book 5 of Tacitus, the Histories. So you have the Greeks and later on the Romans speaking one in part about Israel should not keep it. And if Israel is keeping it later on, the Romans were saying the Israelites was lazy. So we already know whose culture this is. If you have a culture set aside that you give gifts like they do tomorrow in this society, that means you don't give gifts often. And that is to say that if you have a set aside day of ceasing from work, that means that you're usually working. You understand? It's not 6 days of rest and 1 day of work. It's 6 days of work and 1 day of rest. And brothers and sisters, a lot of people use so-called Sunday to sit there and get their own personal business started. Did you know that? Some people sit there and have 2 jobs. They'll go to, quote, clock in from 9 to 5, as it's called, and then afterward work on their own particular business after that until, say, 6 to 10. And then they rest at night, sleep, and so forth, and then go back to that clock job, if you want to put it in terms like that, and then sit there and go into the matter of saying they're going to work on his or own personal business. See, when you're doing that kind of matter, you're going to be, again, looking forward to the Shabbat. You understand? If you are into working hard and you just, like some people, like I know of, they retired from their job or their career and they just didn't want to sit at home all the time being bored. So they decided to sit there and pick up an occupation. Some join a club. Some people go and they get an entrepreneur kind of matter. Some older people, after retiring, go back to college just so they can have something, say, to do throughout the course of the day. What does that tell us in part? That means that the Social Security or the pension itself is not the money that's keeping, quote, the people happy. There's nothing wrong with having your own thing going on as long as it's not wicked, brothers and sisters. So family, let us not teach our people to break the Sabbath. Let us not teach the children of Israel to go against the laws of Yah. Brothers and sisters, again, the reason that some give on the internet or off the internet as to why they don't observe it is some of the weakest, saddest arguments. Well, if you see someone not keeping it, do you put them to death? We already went over that by saying you're not supposed to look to put people to death, brothers and sisters. This is why when a person broke the Shabbat, they didn't even know what to do in the time of Exodus. You understand what I mean in that particular case? You're supposed to look to have people to return from their wicked ways. Like we read in Isaiah, wash you, make you clean, cease to do evil. That means if you're doing evil, you can cease from doing it. You can have a perpetual Sabbath of ceasing, a perpetual sabbatical of wickedness. You can't do it. The Most High told Cain, sin crouches at the door to you as a desire, but you can rule over it. It don't have rule over you. Don't listen to these people talking about Sprite, obey your thirst. Your thirst is supposed to obey you. You're supposed to have control over it, not it control you. That takes a discipline. Shabbat teaches a discipline. Sabbath teaches a discipline. Have certain things prepared already. But if you have a mindset, and like it says in the prophets, there is no rest for the wicked. So you're okay waiting the Shabbat to try to get things accomplished because you're not putting in all that work during the other 6 days. If you are about handling your business, and even tougher in exile or in the societies that we are in now, get help in doing so. So-called Thursday. Let me go food shopping now for Shabbat. The sun going down earlier on so-called Friday. That kind of mindset. Brothers and sisters, these are things we care to bring out for reference purposes. All righty, let's look. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13, if we will. Thank you for the time. We in Proverbs chapter 20, verse 13. Again, this is on the platforms, Mora Yeshaya history lessons, Mora Yeshaya Hebrew lessons, and Mora Yeshaya Old Testament. 20, verse 13, brothers and sisters, and it reads as follows in the book of Proverbs. Love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes, and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. Now, as pointed out before, bread sometimes is called, in our days, money, finances, guap, that paper, revenue, if you will. So if you are one that's not given over to being, quote, lazy, for the lack of a better term, you're going to appreciate the Shabbat. So if it says, love not sleep, open thine eyes, and you shall be satisfied with bread. Open your eyes, open your vision, Israel. See that we are each other's best resources and that we can do things that will support and encourage each other. There are Israelite sisters that make clothes. There are Israelite sisters that talk about being able to pay bills around the timing of Passover for all of the garments that different brothers from different camps ask to be made. People want to snap on other Israelites in their clothing, but when you see how much money, if we want to talk about that today, not being the Sabbath today, so-called Sunday, they get paid on that. Or they look like Power Rangers or whatever like that. Men don't snap on other men's clothes. That's just not what us as men do. And the sisters who make those garments, brothers and sisters, get paid. That's interdependence. That's being able to have dependent upon your own people. That is a business within your own people. There are several websites of brothers and sisters that sell oils, that sell books. I sell books, as you can sit there and see inside of the matter there with the words across the screen about the Deuteronomy 28 book that's on sale for those who get it online. You understand? So again, there is no reason, brothers and sisters, why we should not be interdependent upon each other and so forth. Now, what are some of the reasons that people give in misunderstanding the scriptures? They try to give, as we pointed out in Hosea. But we want to point out historically that Hosea prophesied around the timing of Isaiah. And we just read in Isaiah, if you turn away your foot for the Shabbat, and keep the Shabbat. So Hosea nor Isaiah was teaching the people to break the Shabbat. When it says no more with your vain oblations, that means if you're making an oblation, don't make it vain. It doesn't say stay in being vain and stop your oblations. Get rid of being vain. That is the point that the scriptures is teaching us. Not that you stay in your wickedness, but rather you cease from doing evil and learn to do well, which means that everyone else speaking or hearing this has to be teachable. Brothers and sisters, one of the poorest reasons, because there is never a rich one, that brothers and sisters give concerning why we can and should not keep the Shabbat in the lands of where we are in now is the offerings. And in Numbers chapter 28, we're going to read a couple of verses, brothers and sisters, about this particular matter. Again, speaking as a person who in my life, I have not been the best Sabbath keeper. It goes to say this, and Yah spoke unto Moses, saying, command the children of Israel and say unto them, my offering and my bread for my sacrifices made by fire, for a sweet savor unto me, shall ye observe to offer unto me in their due season. Now, there are offerings that are done every day of the week in the Israelite culture, brothers and sisters. Did you know that? There are offerings that are done every week, brothers and sisters, regarding this. I just saw the comment written by Dominic Doulos. May I join you in this live to receive some edification? That would require, thank you for the question. Greetings to you, my brother. That will require me having to send a link and then you send it back. So if you can see, my number is across the screen, 908-587-4841. We can have a dialogue about that. But at this very particular presentation, which is already live and going online, I'm not able to send a link and do all of that, say, in this particular one. But thank you for that. We are in Numbers 28, verse 9. And on the Sabbath day, 2 lambs of the first year without spot, and 2 tenths, meaning without blemish, and 2/10 deals of fine flour for a meat offering mingled with oil, and the drink offering thereof. This is the burnt offering of every Shabbat, beside the continual burnt offering and the drink offering. Now, some people ask to us who say we should and do keep the Sabbath in exile, well, where's your offering at? Here's the question, brothers and sisters. In the time of David, he counted over 70,000 Israelites. Brothers and sisters, are we to think that in the time of Solomon, Israel being numbered over 70,000, when the temple was established in the time of Solomon, that every Israelite, be you on the east or west side of the Jordan, went with lambs and everything over into Jerusalem? No, brothers and sisters. The offerings that are the burnt offerings that you read in Numbers 28 that are done on the Shabbat, that's done on the Sabbath, brothers and sisters, is when your own time, when you read in Deuteronomy 18, it says your meal offerings, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, and your peace offerings that the Levites get, they take of that, and that is what's offered. On the Sabbath, there are only 4 offerings spoken about in that case. There's the 2 that's done in the morning, and then there's 2 that's done in the evening. Why? Because the Sabbath is a day. So therefore, in that particular matter, you have it to where every day there's an offering. So that's already inclusive of the Sabbath day. And because it's the Sabbath day, you have another offering with that. So it's not 70,000 plus people going to Jerusalem where the temple was in the time of Solomon, bringing offerings in that particular case. Again, when you read in your own time and Deuteronomy 18, it gets into how the burnt offerings and everything is given from the people to the Levites, and then from what is given as fuel offerings and so forth, that is what is being sacrificed, not over 140,000 lambs and rams and so forth. Furthermore, everyone can't afford that financially, even in ancient times. You understand? If it says, let's go back into this, and it says on the Shabbat day, 2 lambs of the first year, that means it has to be 1 year old. Lambs, correct me if I'm wrong, do not produce in litters. Correct me if I'm wrong. They produce 1 baby calf and then another baby calf. I don't know how long a female sheep is pregnant. I don't know that. But if it says of the first year, and you're thinking that every single Israelite, and you're understanding and teaching that we can't keep the Shabbat, went to Jerusalem and did the offering of 2 lambs of the first year, when was the matter of the women, of the females, should I say, of the sheep and lambs and rams being pregnant? How does that time frame even work out? To see, that doesn't seem to matter, because it's that lady that's looking good to you, my brother. So you okay violating the Shabbat to take her out in that case. That overtime, that money, that guap, that bread, that paper is looking good to you, my brother. So you okay with that. And sisters, you put a man before the Most High's law, teaching that we can't keep the Sabbath, as opposed to the kind of woman that I am blessed with that say, Yeshaya, you know, today's not the day for that. Don't do that, my brother. Wasn't you taught this since you was a child? That's the kind of lady you want, like the kind of lady I got, Sarah, that's going to sit there and join. I don't want you to go astray, so I'm going to sit there and be in your ear in this particular matter. Not, I like a doormat, and whatever the man says goes. No, whatever Yah says goes. And if you're a man of understanding, you're going to want to take heed to that kind of matter. You understand? When you're teaching brothers and sisters that we are to not keep the Shabbat because of this, that, or the other reason, you're not giving the Most High a chance. What do I mean by that? When Babylon was defeated by Assyria and all of those calamities was going on in the world, and Israel and Judah was swept up in that kind of matter, the Most High said to Jeremiah, is there anything too hard for Yah to not do? So if we don't think the Most High knows about rent and mortgage, if we don't think the Most High knows about phone bills, this bill, that bill, this electric matter, this other situation, he knows the end of a matter before it exists. So why do we not be interdependent of each other, support each other, do what we can do, like, we did as a people, even without the knowledge of Israel and what they call Black Wall Street, like even without the knowledge of Israel and what you call Rosewood, Florida. Why won't we establish that now? Because, see, having a mindset like Antiochus Epiphanes, you're not going to do that. You're not going to tell your brothers and sisters, let's come together cohesively, even financially, economically, socially, and culturally, and let us become interdependent. You can't do that when you want to sit there and just rely on that check from Antiochus and company, from Domitian and company, from Titus and company. What do I mean by that? There's no distinction between telling your brothers and sisters to work on the Shabbat and a person in slavery that was used to beat Kunta that you saw in the movie Roots. You're working for the man, oppressing your own. For the lack of a better term, you're working for the ops, or that's to say the opposition. And it seems that when brothers and sisters want to get into observing the Shabbat, there's always some satanic ruach that says you can't do it. Now, whether or not people say it's just in the daytime, whether people say it's from evening to evening, that is not the point in this presentation. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, is getting into the matter of people saying we cannot and should not do it. When we make our prayers, who do we pray to? We pray for our brothers and sisters, but we pray to the Most High. So again, we do not want it to ever be misconstrued, misunderstood, or misrepresented on who we call upon. The so-called Falashas, the Beta Yisrael, as they correctly call themselves. You understand? Not the Beta Israel, the Falashas name for themselves. No, they are called Falashas by Hamites, but they know themselves as Israel. They were noticed since the 1600s for keeping what they say in Amharic, Sabbath, which we say in Hebrew as Shabbat. How are you going to be distinguished from other people if you're doing everything like them? How is your actions showing it to be of a difference between one and the other if everything you do is in accordance with the other peoples and so forth? We cannot sit there and have our culture intertwined with that. You have to be separate, O house of Israel. Doesn't mean arrogant, doesn't mean you look down on anyone else or so forth and so on. The only time, as the statement goes online, that you're supposed to look down is when you're pulling somebody up. So family, and giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. I try not to go over an hour in a presentation, and I see it's already past 50 or so minutes in this particular one. This again is like a 1A kind of thing because it's on other platforms as well, but the importance and significance of this one, we definitely, brothers and sisters, wanted to bring out this to the people in this particular case. All right, so hoping and praying that everybody is well and will be better. Again, to my brother, Dominic Doulos, if I mispronounce your name, pardon me. I see you asked about joining in this live to receive some edification. Because it's already started, I wasn't able to do that. But in the future, we can already speak offline and collaborate online about edifying and so forth and so on. So you can text me WhatsApp or regular text at 908-587-4841, the number that you see going across the screen, and definitely make that kind of matter happen. I was definitely respected and appreciated on the platforms. I asked others to join me. For those who are interested, subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. And we're going to, brothers and sisters, close out in this particular case. Let's go to Psalms 92, if you will. And it goes to say this in this particular matter. Thank you for the time, brothers and sisters. You can be anywhere, but you decided to listen to this live and or later on. Thank you for that. Psalm 92. Let's see what it says in this particular case. Psalm for the Shabbat day. It is a good thing to give thanks unto Yah, and to sing praises unto thy name, O Most High, to show forth thy loving kindness in the morning, and thy faithfulness every night. Upon the instruments of 10 strings, and upon the psaltery, upon the harp with the solemn sound. For thou, Yah, hast made me glad through thy work. I will triumph in the work of thy hands. Brothers and sisters, we cannot triumph in the work of the Most High's hands if we don't want to acknowledge the Shabbat, which is a sign of what? The creation. For in 6 days, Yah made the heaven and the earth, the sea and all that in them is. So to look at the matter of, well, what do you do with this and what do you do with that? Isaiah, the prophet, stated through Yah, or in the name of Yah, there is no rest, save my God, for the wicked. So the people online or offline that has questions to people who observe the Shabbat, that's your spirit that's troubled. That's something that you're going to have to sit there and deal with. You understand? Because you can't be going around saying you Israel and working for Antiochus Epiphanes in spirit and everything be all right. That's a problem. So change from that. And brothers and sisters, hoping and praying everybody is well and will be better. It's your brother Yeshua Yisrael. Subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. Thank you for that. And when you subscribe to the channel, I get the notification of it. Then I'm allowed to subscribe to your channel, interdependent. Subscribe to mine. I see the email come up saying such and such as subscribe. Then I'll be able to go to your channel and subscribe to yours, because it's not just about me. It's about the Most High. Shalom.